the concluding part of how we got our Bible. Now, this Vulgate Bible is very, very important because much later, there were a lot of translation and version and efforts to correct some of the anomalies that came in this translation of the Vulgate Bible. So most of the translators refer back to the hagiograph or the hagiographer, the Vulgate, and then the Septuagint. I hope you get it. Now, what you most of you will be interested in how we got this Bible in English, because so far all the ones I've been saying we are either in Hebrew, in Greek, or in Latin. So I will jump every other thing that happened in between. I will just jump to the time of the Reformation. You remember Luther that led the Reformation, that is in rebel against the Vatican. All right, after the Reformation, we started having printing press, which hastened the compilation of the Bible. Okay, when I said that the hagiographer it's just 22 books rather than 39 books. Okay, now in our Bible today, the Old Testament is 39 books, but the hagiograph contained 22 books. Now in the New Testament, now we have 27 books. Initially it wasn't up to 27, but later they accepted everything we know today as the New Testament. The first man that attempted to put the Bible in English was a man many of you know called Wycliffe. Now the man was eventually martyred because as of then it was illegal to do what he did. The Bible, the printing press, had been invented in Germany some years earlier. So when Wycliffe translated the Bible into English, it was not really accepted. The king was angry and then he was martyred. Now, after his effort, another man called Tyndale came and corrected some of the blunders in Wycliffe's own translation of the Bible and did his own. After Tyndale, we now have another man called Coverdale Bible, who also translated it into English. On and on like that, people kept coming in as politics was changing and things were changing. As of this time, they've started putting together, it has now been called the Bible. One of the theologians had called it the books. Later it became the book, and later it became book, which was actually the Latin word for biblos or biblica, which means the book. Now, after the Coverdale, we have other versions, other scholars coming together to consult basically the hagiograph, the Vulgate, and then the Septuagint. Now, I've jumped off the Bible, the Bishop's Bible, but the Geneva Bible also became very popular among the populace. That it stood its ground until a man called King James gave an official royal backing to a correct version of the Bible. So he had to set up a group of scholars, which was initially not accepted, which was viewed with some political suspicion, but eventually it gathered the momentum it was needed. And then they went back, just like the Reformation, when Luther refused to accept the Septuagint, refused to accept the Vulgate because of the inclusion of the Apocrypha. The King James translator too had to go back to the hagiographer and then also consulted the Vulgate, the Wycliffe, the Coverdale, the Tyndale. They consulted all those books, all this translation of the Bible, all this version of the Bible, and came up with what we call the authorized King James Version, which up to today is still the most popular version of the Bible. Of course, after King James Version, we've had the American Standard Version, we have the New English Version, we have the National International Version, we have the Revised Version, we have the Good News Version, we have the Amplified. We have so many versions today. But eventually, that's how we came about the Bible. Now, don't forget that it's very, very important to know that the process involved a lot of councils sitting together. When I say council, I'm talking about religious council coming together to agree on what to be included and what not to be included based on certain principle. Now, the principle in the Old Testament in the Old Testament was simple. They followed the hagiograph, the authentic book of Moses, and then the book that the Jewish religion held on to for years. So it's easy to just say, okay, let's leave the books written after the dispersion, which was the Septuagint. Let's hold on to what the Rabbinical Council held on to. But in the New Testament, it was a different ball game. Now, why was it a different ball game? After the apostles left, different epistles started springing off left, right, and center. We have the epistle of James, the epistles of Peter, all kinds of epistles started coming up, that there was a need to compile what they believe is the authentic writings of the apostles. So two principles were followed. This is very important. The first principle was, don't forget that at this stage the church has spread. Paul and the likes has carried the gospel of the kingdom to 2 different countries. So we now have churches in different nations, called according to the nations, the name of the nation. The Ephesians, got that in Ephesus, the Philippians, the one in Philippi, and the Colossians, the one in Colossae, and so on and so forth. So there was a need to translate these writings of the apostles into the languages that this Christianity is gradually spreading into. So two principles were adopted. Number one is all these epistles springing left, right, and center. Which one are being accepted by all the churches, not just the one accepted by Colossae or Philippi or Romans, but the letters that all the churches accepted. That's the first principle. Then the second one is the one that's written by people that had close proximity with Jesus Christ, those who are close proximity with those apostles. Now, don't also forget that some of these epistles were written to address certain issues in the church, like the Gnostic issues. The Gnostic people say that you must possess some level of spiritual attainment in terms of meditation, in terms of exclusivity in spiritual alignment with some divine nature, which some of our Christians are actually unknowingly practicing today. Some esoteric connection. That's some of the things that Gnosticism challenge. So the letters of Paul to the Colossians and to Timothy was trying to address the problem of the Gnostic sects in that time, which was becoming an issue. All right, so basically this is the history of the Bible. So when you say the Word of God, the Word of God, you must understand that it actually has gone through a lot of phases. Okay, it's important to also know that this is not sent down from heaven by angels or brought down like this by angels to man, or dictated by God or spiritual beings to man. Man is just writing. No, these were written in the language of man, by the understanding of man, based on what he believed that God is telling him to do. All right, that's our Bible, and it remains the most authentic book ever written about God.